Welcome to NarrativeNook Audiotales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening. Did her son know that her fiancé often stood up for him behind his back? At this moment, Arabella was the belle of the ball, with everyone vying for her company. Shirley wanted her to sit next to her, but Jennifer disagreed. She wanted to sit with Arabella. "Mom, Arabella usually hangs out with you guys. Let her sit between George and me for tonight's dinner." Jennifer grasped Arabella's arm, refusing to let go. Shirley laughed and agreed. "All right, Arabella can sit next to you tonight." "You don't know what Arabella likes to eat." "I do." Philip still disagreed. "You can tell me, and I'll help her get her food." Jennifer argued back. Romeo had no idea that the woman Arabella hit it off so well with was his own mother. He was even more shocked that from the moment they walked through the door, Arabella was no longer just his but was being fought for by everyone. In truth, Arabella recognized the middle-aged man and the beautiful lady as Romeo's parents and her future in-laws as soon as she walked in the door. She was surprised, but also very happy. This couple was very lovely, and they handled things in a very proper manner. "Arabella, you told me you were out shopping this afternoon. Were you buying gifts for us?" Jennifer noticed that the gift Arabella brought was quite heavy and couldn't help but ask. Arabella smiled faintly. "Yep, I hope you like it. Even if you picked a flower from the roadside, I would love it." When Jennifer opened the gift, she found a whole set of limited edition jewelry from QY. In the afternoon, Arabella visited the QY store and had them pack the most recently released limited edition jewelry set in their most beautiful packaging. Seeing this gift, Romeo casually mentioned, QY was also founded by Arabella. At this, George and Jennifer exchanged surprised glances. My God, their daughter-in-law was a gold mine of talents. "Arabella, you are truly extraordinary." Jennifer couldn't help but praise. She then discovered a card in the bag, a free pass to QY. Simply put, it meant that they could buy anything from QY and just walk out without paying. Jennifer was simply gobsmacked. Their daughter-in-law was so generous, it made them feel a bit stingy. There was also a skincare set in the bag. Romeo recognized the various bottles and jars and guessed that it must be a hydrating and whitening set developed by Arabella herself. "Dear Arabella, you are so thoughtful." Jennifer couldn't help but give her a warm hug. She had brought so many gifts at once. This was the first time Arabella had been hugged so closely by a woman she'd only met twice. "You are just too good." Jennifer was almost moved to tears. This daughter-in-law was simply too satisfactory. Upon opening the gift box, George exclaimed, "These are Labella's works? 6 pieces." This daughter-in-law was really extravagant. She bought 6 pieces all at once. After all, the first piece was already impossible to find on the market. Even with an offer of up to $30 million, no one was willing to sell. Where did Bella buy them? Did she spend a lot of money? At that moment, Jennifer suddenly had a thought and couldn't help asking, "Bella, you're not Labella, are you?" At her words, Arabella felt all eyes turn to her. "The handwriting on the blessing you wrote for George is just like Labella's." Jennifer knew her pretty daughter-in-law had a lot of aliases, and she could accept even one more. Now, her eyes were filled with anticipation and a little certainty. What blessing? Philip and Shirley were puzzled, not knowing what Jennifer was talking about. "It was last night. Bella wrote a blessing for George and signed it." Jennifer explained, then nudged George with her elbow and raised an eyebrow. "Isn't that right?" "Yes." George immediately pulled out his notebook for everyone to see. The author was Mirabelle. The handwriting was graceful and imposing. Romeo, who had seen this lady's writing in private, could confirm that these characters were penned by her. But she was Labella. He hadn't expected that. Really? Jennifer looked at Arabella expectantly. Knowing she couldn't keep her alias a secret any longer, Arabella could only nod in admission. Seeing this, Jennifer was even more delighted. "I knew she was Labella. I really guessed it right." George couldn't believe that the calligraphy master Labella, whom he had always admired, was his own daughter-in-law. A strong feeling of joy and shock surged in his heart. The prescription Bella wrote last night, and this blessing, whether it's the size of the characters or the strength of the strokes, they're all the same as Labella's. I really guessed it right. Jennifer was both happy and surprised, wondering how this little girl had managed to cultivate so many skills, any one of which could be praised. I also like Labella's writing, but I never thought Labella would be Bella. Philip was surprised and burst into laughter. This coincidence was really amazing. These characters are written so well. Shirley generously praised, Bella, you're really outstanding, truly excellent. George, you said you were going away for a few days, so why don't I keep these 6 works for you? It would be such a pity if they got damaged. Philip started to eye his son's gift. George quickly hugged the 6 original works of Labella in his arms and smiled calmly. Dad, don't worry, I already have a place in mind for these 6 works. They'll get dusty if you hang them up. Better keep them in my safe, it's both safer and cleaner. Dad, I have a safe too. You can't always be guarding the safe. Unlike me, I can open it and look every day. What if they get stolen? I think Bella's works would be best kept with me. George was frustrated and could only turn to Shirley with a pleading look. Shirley gave her husband a reproachful look and laughed. This is a gift from your daughter-in-law to your son. What are you thinking? Didn't Bella also give you a gift? Bella gave me medicine for strengthening the body, which is different from calligraphy works. Philip was still looking hopefully at the calligraphy in his son's hands. You don't want those body-strengthening medicines? Then give them to me. George reached out to take them. Philip quickly hugged the medicine in his arms. When did I say I didn't want them? He just wanted more. Arabella chuckled. Grandpa, if you like, I can write for you in the future, whatever you want. Really? Philip was pretty shocked, but more so thrilled. He didn't expect this kid to be so understanding and dutiful. Compared to his son, it's like night and day. Don't pressure Arabella too much. Romeo chimed in from the side, her words are worth a fortune. Dr. Bell's medical fees, free meal cards, various jewelry. Don't overdo it. Well, look who's playing the knight in shining armor now. George noticed his son seemed a bit upset. But since they stepped into the room, no one seemed to pay him any attention. Arabella, you can come over and write a few pieces for me in the future. Philip blatantly disregarded his grandson's words and turned to Arabella with a smile. I'm a big fan of calligraphy, and we can discuss some calligraphy issues face-to-face. Arabella smiled and said, sure. Brody, who was standing nearby, cleared his throat to remind them after half an hour of their various topics discussion. Philip, Shirley, the lady has been here for half an hour. Shall we let the waiter serve the dishes? They've kept people hungry for half an hour. Oh right, we totally forgot about that in the excitement. Shirley was a bit embarrassed. They invited her for dinner but ended up talking for ages. This kid must be hungry, right? Let's get the food served. Philip didn't realize that half an hour had passed amidst the chatter and instinctively shifted the blame. Brody, we were too excited and forgot about it. Why didn't you remind us earlier? Brody was used to it and even wore a smile. Yeah, it's all my fault. What did Arabella gift you? Philip moved closer to his wife while waiting for the dishes, eager to take a peek at the gift box in her hand. Shirley tucked away the gift box, not letting him see. We're about to eat, let's check it out after dinner. Let's take a quick look. Philip was curious to know if there were any calligraphy or painting works inside. Shirley refused and handed the gift box to Brody for safekeeping. Philip glared at Brody. Brody was also in a bind. Sorry, Philip, but Shirley's the boss in this house. You can check it out after the meal. Philip was a bit disappointed. After a while, he couldn't help but ask his son, you mentioned that Arabella drew a painting for me, where is it? George looked a bit deflated. Didn't I ask Mr. Brody to give it to you when we got home last night? Philip was too busy blaming them for their frequent world tours and rare home visits to notice what the gift was. Now he was filled with curiosity. Can you tell me what Bella drew? He was dying to see it. I have a photo of it on my phone." At this point, George seemed to remember something, took out his phone, opened his gallery, and let his father take a look. Just one glance, and Philip was deeply impressed by the artistic conception and technique of the painting. Broad strokes, majestic momentum, a verdant forest, and clouds enveloping the mountains. This really was an unparalleled masterpiece. Philip was totally captivated by this painting. He didn't expect that a teenage girl could produce such profound artwork. "Last night, when Bella handed over this masterpiece to me, I couldn't believe such a good painting came from a little girl. So, I asked her to prove it, and guess what? She drew this part of the painting in less than 5 minutes." George pointed to the top left corner of the work, his words filled with surprise and admiration. Philip quickly looked up, eager to see, "Where's that part? I want to see it too." George was at a loss for words. "You already got the whole painting, why do you want that part?" "That part is mine." Seeing his son determined not to give in, he lowered his head again to admire the painting. George was very fond of the atmosphere of that part, which could be framed even if it was cut out separately. It depicted overlapping mountains with a profound sense of depth. Recalling that part, he was once again deeply impressed by Arabella's painting skills. He didn't expect such excellence from such a young girl. The mountains and trees in this painting are so well done, and the waterfall is falling straight down, the clouds shadowing the mountains. Shirley couldn't stop praising the painting. "Bella has done it all so perfectly, her painting skills are so exquisite." Who would have thought that this little girl's painting skills were so good? And who would have thought her talents would be so diverse, both as a calligrapher and a painter? Before, they were shocked to know she was Dr. Belle and Melody. Brody, standing aside, was also stunned. He had never expected such a multi-talented young girl, who was even better than the kids from other prestigious families. Who wouldn't like such a girl? At this point, the restaurant manager knocked on the door and personally served the dishes. But everyone's attention was still on Arabella's painting. "Did you guys want to hear the new song I recorded last night?" No sooner had Jennifer asked than Philip and Shirley responded in unison, "Yes." Arabella was a bit surprised. When did Jennifer record it? Jennifer seemed to notice her confusion, laughed and explained, "When you were playing the piano last night, I thought you looked good from the back, and the piano sound was good too, so I couldn't resist recording, just a small part." But Philip and Shirley were already eager to listen. Jennifer started the recording on her phone. The melodious tunes flowed from the girl's fingers, effortlessly transporting everyone into a joyful atmosphere. Everyone's faces were filled with enjoyment. When the short clip ended, Philip was not satisfied. "Why is it so short? Is there more? I didn't record the rest." Jennifer was too immersed in the atmosphere to continue recording. "It's so good, Bella, you're really amazing." Shirley's love for her granddaughter-in-law deepened, and she couldn't help but say to Jennifer, "Send me this clip. I want to set it as my ringtone." "I want it too." Philip wanted a copy too, but Shirley disagreed. "If the ringtone goes off, we won't know if it's your phone or mine. You can't choose this song as your ringtone." Philip felt a bit cheesed off on the inside, but he didn't let it show. Arabella noticed that a single tune had sparked such a fight. Looking at Philip, who seemed a bit helpless, she couldn't help but laugh and say, "Grandpa, I'll write a new piece for you one day." "Really?" Philip's hopes were up again, his eyes sparkling. Arabella nodded, only to hear George and Jennifer chime in, "Could you write one for us too?" "You're asking for the moon," Romeo butted in. "Let's drop this topic and get to grub. If we keep yapping, the food's going to get cold." Romeo started to serve Arabella, but before his utensils could reach Arabella's bowl, he found 4 people serving food onto Arabella's plate at the same time. Arabella's empty plate was suddenly filled with food. She chuckled and said, "Thanks, you guys should dig in too. Bella is so thoughtful, she is such a good girl." Jennifer liked her even more. "I heard you're a big fan of seafood, all this is for you, eat up." Before they served the food, they had the chef remove all the seafood shells to save the hassle. Arabella wasn't idle either. She shared some seafood with her grandparents, George and Jennifer, and even remembered to add some of Romeo's favorite dishes to his plate. Romeo's eyes were soft. He didn't expect Arabella to remember him. Everyone else had forgotten about him, only Arabella kept him in her thoughts and knew what he liked to eat. If there weren't so many people around, he'd totally smooch her right there. Brody watched as the family ate happily, his gaze softened. It had been a long time since they had such a harmonious scene. These past few years, Romeo had taken on a lot of responsibility. When he first started managing the whole corporation, there were always people trying to stir up trouble and set obstacles for him. He was so busy that he didn't even have time to visit his grandparents. It wasn't until the past year, when the corporation's situation had stabilized, that he had more personal time. But his parents had gone on a world tour, so there were very few times when the whole family could sit down and have a meal together. To put it bluntly, ever since Arabella joined the family, things had changed. The home felt even warmer and more united than before. "Mr. Brody, why don't you take a seat and join us?" Arabella noticed that he was still standing and couldn't help but whisper, "Yeah, Brody, why are you still standing? Have a seat." Philip was so focused on getting Arabella to eat more that he had forgotten about the person standing behind him. Shirley also urged him to sit down. Over the years, Brody had become like a member of their family. Feeling touched, Brody thanked everyone before finally sitting down to eat. "Bella, we've also prepared a welcome gift for you. We'll show you after we've finished eating." Jennifer worried that showing the gifts now would distract from the meal. "Thank you." Arabella smiled, her eyes soft. In the pleasant atmosphere, everyone enjoyed a meal together. After the meal, Jennifer gave Arabella her gift with a loving and gentle expression. George also presented Arabella with the gift he had prepared. "Go ahead and open it, hope you like it." Arabella opened the box to reveal a rare and precious necklace made of 98 small diamonds and one large one, all in a striking sea blue hue. "This necklace was a gift from my mother on my 18th birthday, Jennifer chuckled, "and now it belongs to you." That was a treasure which was passed down through generations of daughters in her family, all the way to its 5th generation through her. But she was willing to give that necklace to Arabella, which spoke volumes about how much she valued the Arabella. Arabella could tell that the necklace was of considerable worth, both in terms of its clarity and color. It was truly second to none. 666 carats, wishing you all the luck in the world, Jennifer said, looking at Arabella with affection and fondness as she continued to say, "I hope your future is as smooth sailing as the blessing you wrote. Ride the wind and crack the waves, soaring to the sky. This gift is too precious, I can't accept it." Arabella could see the value and significance of the necklace, which was easily worth $100 million. "This is a token of my affection. You must accept it," Jennifer insisted, not giving her the chance to refuse. She even changed the subject quickly to give her no room for rejection. "Look at what your uncle has given you." What George offered was a beautifully crafted gemstone key with the Macmillan family crest. It was priceless. It could unlock the Macmillan family's secret base and even the safes George and Jennifer had in foreign banks. His thought was that since his daughter-in-law had joined the family, she should be treated as a part of it. He and Jennifer often traveled the world, and if anything happened to them, Bella could use that key to inherit everything they had. "Good thing it's not jewelry. Otherwise, Bella would run out of places to wear it," quipped Romeo from the side. He had previously given Arabella bracelets, bangles, and necklaces. Her grandmother had also given her heirlooms, and her brothers had also given her plenty of jewelry. If there were any more, she would really run out of places to wear them. The atmosphere lightened up thanks to his comment. Seeing that Arabella was still reluctant to accept, he whispered, "Just take what Mom and Dad are giving you. Don't be a stranger." In the end, Arabella accepted the 2 gifts. The family spent a good while chatting happily before they left the private dining room. Downstairs in the restaurant, Serena was dining with a few friends when she looked up to see Philip leading Shirley out of the elevator. Her eyes lit up, and she was about to go greet them when she saw Romeo and Arabella following them. Romeo was whispering something to Arabella, who responded quietly. They seemed to get along like a house on fire. Even George and Jennifer, who were laughing and chatting with Arabella as soon as they stepped out of the elevator, seemed to adore their future daughter-in-law. Serena's cutlery fell from her hand, her feelings a mix of shock, surprise, and disappointment. Her friend Eileen, sitting next to her, nearly spat out her drink. "Serena, look. Isn't that Romeo? Why is he holding hands with another girl?" At her words, the other girls hurriedly looked over, all of them were stunned. "Who is that girl? She looks about our age. Are the two behind them Romeo's parents? Has her already met his parents? Oh my God, Romeo is so out of line. He's engaged to you, yet he's entangled with another girl. Aren't the two in front Romeo's grandparents? No, I must be seeing things. I thought Romeo's grandmother was in a vegetative state. Serena, isn't Romeo your fiancé? What on earth is going on?" Serena didn't know how to answer all those questions and could only say somewhat gloomily, "Don't ask." The other girls looked at her, their eyes filled with sympathy for her. Catching her fiancé cheating would be a tough pill to swallow for anyone. "Serena, men are like that. They party hard and play around before marriage, but they settle down afterward," one of them offered her point of view. "You guys aren't even officially married yet, let him go out and have his fun for a couple more years. By the time you graduate and become the lady of the Macmillan family, let's see if those girls still dare to approach him," another one suggested. "Well, he is Romeo after all. These girls are all over him, but doesn't that just prove how outstanding he is?" Another one chimed in. "Once he's had his fun, he'll realize that you're the best, and he'll focus all his attention on you," the last one assured her. But those words of comfort didn't help Serena at all. She looked up, her eyes filled with sadness, and asked, "If I wasn't the heiress of the Collins family, would you all still be my friend?" "Serena, what kind of question is that? We're friends with you because of your kindness, not because of your family background." One of them retorted. "Yeah, look at the heiress of the Bradshaw family in our school, I don't even bother to talk with her." "Serena, are you hiding something? If there's anything troubling you, just tell us, and we'll help you solve it." Serena wanted to speak up several times, but in the end, she kept silent. She lost her appetite and just picked at her food. On her way back to school, Serena received another call from Martha. Apparently, Romeo's parents were coming to visit in a day or two. Martha advised her to take a leave of absence to go home and make a good impression on Romeo's parents, hoping to outshine Arabella to turn the tide. But recalling the laughing and chatting between Romeo's parents and Arabella, Serena knew that no matter how hard she tried, it seemed impossible to surpass Arabella in their hearts, as it seemed like they were happy with Arabella. Everyone in the Macmillan family, from the grandparents to the aunts and uncles, seemed to have a soft spot for Arabella. Martha went on and on over the phone, urging her not to give up and to keep on trying her best. She even said that during Arabella's absence, their parents missed her and mentioned her more often than they did Serena. That suggested that Arabella's status in their parents' hearts had increased while her status had decreased. Martha went on to say that if things continued like that, her place in the family would slowly be taken over by Arabella. "Serena, it's not that I want to criticize, but you're too kind. You're trying to make amends with her, bringing her food and drinks, checking on her, but has she ever responded to your efforts? To be honest, she doesn't need a sister right now. Your existence only threatens her place in the family. Serena, it's time for you to wake up. You've humiliated yourself, and all you've got in return is more and more disdain and contempt from your family." Martha's words echoed in Serena's mind. She didn't know what she had done wrong and why it was so hard to change. Did she still need to persevere? The next afternoon, Arabella arrived at the location Jennifer had booked as agreed. It was a trendy restaurant where the large floor-to-ceiling windows allowed a close-up view of Astronesia's biggest Ferris wheel. The beautiful seascapes were truly a sight to behold. As soon as Arabella stepped into the restaurant, she was noticed by a sharp-eyed girl. "Hey, isn't that Arabella?" The girl who was speaking was a friend of Cherry, who was sitting by the window with all her friends, enjoying their afternoon coffee. No one expected to bump into Arabella there. Cherry took a glance and sure enough, it was that little troublemaker. Ever since she returned to the Collins family, that girl seemed to have plenty of spare cash to squander. As Arabella walked past Cherry's table, someone knocked over 2 beautifully decorated cupcakes with their elbow. If Arabella hadn't dodged in time, her shoes would have been stained by them. "Arabella? Are you blind? You destroyed our cupcakes. Pay for them." Ignoring them, Arabella stepped over the cupcakes on the floor, intending to leave. "Are you deaf? I'm talking to you." Cherry's voice attracted quite a bit of attention. A friend blocked Arabella's way and sarcastically said, "So, you think you can damage other people's stuff without paying? Can't even say sorry? Seems like you are both deaf and dumb." Arabella's eyes suddenly turned cold as she retorted, "You don't want your hand anymore?" Remembering the night when Arabella beat up Harley, the friend awkwardly retracted her hand, not daring to argue with her anymore. Is this how the Collins family raises their kids? Cherry deliberately raised her voice, her tone aggressive. "Oh, I forgot, you just came back from a small town, you haven't completely gotten rid of your uncivilized habits. I'm telling you, there's no end to this matter without an apology and compensation." A quick-witted server rushed over and politely asked them, "Excuse me, what seems to be the problem here? This girl ruined my cupcakes, I want her to apologize and pay, but she refuses to do so." Cherry played the victim. "The standards of your restaurant have really dropped, letting in all sorts of riffraff. It's really ruining my mood." The server was confused and unsure of the situation. "The cupcakes fell because of her, there's video proof." Arabella watched the whole thing with cold eyes as if she was watching a bunch of fools. "Then go ahead and check the video." Cherry had noticed that the only camera facing their table had been blocked by Arabella's figure, so her little elbow trick wouldn't have been recorded. The girls demanded the server to check the surveillance footage. Although they couldn't see who knocked over the cupcakes, they could see that they were indeed placed on the edge of the table. As Arabella passed by, the cupcakes fell. "See? The cupcakes were perfectly fine on the table, but they fell as soon as she came. What does that tell you?" Arabella smirked. "The surveillance footage is very clear. As soon as I arrived, you deliberately extended your right elbow. Such a low-level trick. Do you think the police wouldn't be able to see through it if we brought this to them?" A server nearby noticed the situation escalating and hurriedly brought over the restaurant manager. The manager, after hearing the story, politely bowed. "Ladies, how about this? We'll serve you new cupcakes, and let's just put this behind us." "What is it to you? Get lost. I'm not letting this go today." Cherry was adamant, looking down at Arabella. "If you don't want to apologize and pay, that's fine. Let me slap you once, and we'll call it even." Arabella found this amusing as she teased, "Are you crazy drinking coffee? You should go to the hospital and get your brain checked." Cherry stood up, blocking Arabella's path. "Today I'm determined to slap you." Just as she was about to strike. "Whoa, whoa, whoa, you think you can just slap my daughter-in-law's face whenever you feel like it?" At that moment, a graceful lady approached, her exquisite features radiating an unworldly elegance. She took Arabella's hand, offering support against the prying eyes of the surrounding crowd, her icy gaze fixed on the few troublemakers. "Mrs. McMillian? What brings you down here?" The restaurant manager looked at her, his voice a mixture of surprise and respect. He just heard that this young woman was the daughter-in-law whom Mrs. McMillian had been expecting. "I was bored in the suite, so I came down to fetch my daughter-in-law. Mr. Earl, I must say, I'm very disappointed to see you standing by while these people harass her." "Mrs. McMillian, you misunderstand. I was trying to keep the peace. These young ladies were the ones stirring the pot." Mr. Earl protested, his eyes holding a hint of frustration as he looked at the young women. He had seen his fair share of troublemakers, but that was a whole new level. Cherry and her friends were in shock. Who could intimidate Mr. Earl like that? Could it be Mrs. McMillian, the matriarch of the McMillian Corporation? Was she Romeo's mother? Could it be Jennifer? The more Cherry looked, the more she was convinced that this stunning woman was indeed Jennifer. Her features were even more refined, and her demeanor was even more aristocratic than before. She was always a beauty, her skin fair and soft, her presence a perfect blend of elegance and grace, yet still commanding respect and authority. But wait, had Jennifer just referred to Arabella as her daughter-in-law? Impossible. "Auntie, she's not Serena." Cherry gently corrected her. "Her name is Arabella, she's the newly recognized daughter of the Collins family." I can see just fine, dear. No need for the reminder, Jennifer retorted, then turned to the restaurant manager. I had planned to enjoy afternoon tea with my daughter-in-law. But since someone insists on causing trouble, I suggest you clear the room. Of course. The manager knew that the young women were in deep trouble and quickly ordered the staff to clear the room. Cherry's friends, sensing the danger, started to panic. Cherry, I just remembered something urgent at home, I should leave. Me too, I think my period just started. We'll reschedule. As they attempted to flee from that place, they were stopped in their tracks by the waitstaff. Frightened, they quickly hid behind Cherry, their cowardly behavior making Cherry cringe. Once the room was cleared, the manager locked the front door, hung up a temporarily closed sign, and even personally brought over a chair, respectfully saying, Mrs. McMillian, the room is all cleared as you requested. Please, have a seat. Jennifer sat down gracefully and dialed a number on her phone. Cynthia, I'm at Ocean View Restaurant. I need you to come down here. At the mention of the name Cynthia, Cherry's face turned pale. That was her mother's name. How did Mrs. McMillian get her mother's contact? Oh, she remembered. Many years ago, when the Everett family was facing a financial crisis, it was the McMillian Corporation that extended a helping hand. At that time, the McMillian Corporation was also working on several projects with the Everett family. This isn't a social call. Your daughter has been harassing my daughter-in-law, slandering her, and even threatening violence. You need to come down here and discipline her. Cherry's heart sank. She was doomed. Her friends, witnessing that, were terrified and started making excuses. Mrs. McMillian, I didn't participate in this act. I really do have an emergency at home. Can I please be excused? I'm on my period, you can check if you don't believe me. She was sure that Jennifer, a woman of high society, wouldn't ask her to strip in public just to prove it. But Jennifer found her claim amusing. Did those girls think they could pull one over on her? Want to leave? Jennifer asked with a playful tone. The girls hastily nodded. So, how did the cake end up on the floor? Jennifer's clear, bright eyes scanned them one by one. None of the girls dared to admit that Cherry had purposefully smeared the cake, instead they lied, claiming that they hadn't noticed. Oh, then stay put until you come clean, Jennifer said. Jennifer. Cherry started. Jennifer cut her off coldly. Stop. I don't want to hear you speak. Cherry immediately fell silent. After a while, Cynthia arrived. She had left her house in such a hurry that she hadn't even properly dressed herself. Upon exiting her car, she hurried into the restaurant. She was slightly panting, but upon seeing Jennifer, she put on a friendly smile. Jennifer, really sorry to keep you waiting. Cynthia approached Jennifer and glanced at Arabella. This must be your daughter-in-law. She's so beautiful and she seems very well behaved and smart. Turning back to her own daughter among the crowd, she called out, Where's my good-for-nothing daughter? Cherry. Come here and apologize right now. Don't scold her, Jennifer, sitting gracefully with an air of elegance, said with a hint of amusement. She claimed earlier that she doesn't care about anyone's feelings. She's out to offend my daughter-in-law today. This brat saying such nonsense, Cynthia laughed in disbelief, swiftly walking over to pull her daughter to Jennifer, apologized to Mrs. McMillian and her daughter-in-law right now. Mom, you haven't even heard the whole story yet, and you want me to apologize to them. Cherry felt wronged. You slandered them and even wanted to hit them, and you think you shouldn't apologize? Cynthia angrily smacked her arm and said, Apologize now. I'm sorry. Did you skip lunch? Speak up. Cynthia was clearly displeased with her daughter's volume. I'm sorry. Who are you speaking to? Cynthia smacked her arm again. You need to address them by name. Cherry was clearly embarrassed. Mom, my classmates are watching. You weren't afraid of being seen when you made a fool of yourself just now. What are you afraid of now? Apologize properly. Cherry was infuriated but knew her mother's temperament and how important the McMillian family was to them. Cynthia was a fair person. If Jennifer so much as gave a hint, Cynthia would surely make Cherry's life miserable. With that in mind,
She swallowed her pride and apologized, saying, "I'm sorry, Jennifer." "I'm sorry, Arabella." "And what are you apologizing for?" Jennifer lifted her gaze, looking at her coldly. "Are you apologizing for calling my daughter-in-law names, or for slandering her, or maybe for trying to hit her?" Cynthia nearly fainted when she heard that. Her daughter had actually called Jennifer's daughter-in-law names. "Mrs. McMillian is asking you something, answer her. You dare to curse the girl, you're so stupid. Don't you realize that it's thanks to the McMillian family that the Everett family is what it is today?"
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.